Starting my own YouTube channel was my dream since I was 10, and only at 22 today I decided to put all my fears and intrusive thoughts aside and finally pursue my dream, because I have a lot to share. And I hope even this fact will motivate you to reconsider your dreams and goals and do the very first step to achieve them. You definitely don't know me yet, because again, it's my first ever video on YouTube. My name is Renata, I'm 22 years old and I'm from Kazakhstan. By the way, it's located here. I'm coming from an average income family. We have all the basic needs covered, but for me, it was never enough. Ever since I was a kid, I knew that I'm gonna be the first one in my family to become a millionaire and get out of the poverty zone, which seemed to me was what we had. I'm a hardworking person, and since I always had kind of big dreams and even higher ambitions, I was doing everything I could to become better, and I think that's what connects us all here. Since then, my life was real fun. A roller coaster. Well, it is fun to me because I appreciate all the blessings as much as all the fails and hard times, thanks to my therapy, but we'll get to it later. Over the time, I'll share my whole story, but in this series, I want to cover the crisis period, which started exactly a year ago. I want to do it because I'm sure that many people are going through the same shit at probably different age. So even if my journey and insights will help at least one person, I'll be happy. We need to travel back in time a little bit for you to understand where and how the crisis even started. I finished Kazakh-Turkish boarding school for girls. It was great education. I learned 3 languages there: English, Kazakh, Turkish, and Russian is my mother language. It also was my escape zone because meanwhile there was going the weirdest shit in my family. My parents went through a tough divorce but remarried after 3 years. And since my school was in a different city and I was living there in a dormitory, we were able to come visit our homes on Sundays, but there were weeks where I'd rather stay at the school studying instead of going back to the family chaos. Chapter 2 is university. That was a pivot point in my life. I didn't see much potential for me staying in Kazakhstan and studying here, so I decided that no matter what, I have to get a scholarship and go to study abroad. And I made it. I got into the best IT university in Beijing, China. I had all living and educational expenses covered, as well as I was getting monthly like $350 scholarship money. COVID-19. I guess only people living under a rock need explanation of what we all experienced back then. I was really lucky. It was winter holiday and I decided to go home for my dad's birthday. It was supposed to be just a week in Kazakhstan, so I didn't take any of my stuff. Literally, it was just like a couple t-shirts, a hoodie, and thank God I took a laptop. Now guess what happened? China's borders got closed like hours after my plane left China. Long story short, I lost all of my possessions. Everything that was in that room, which was basically everything I ever had, because I took everything I could to China in the first place, was gone for good. Although I'm still crying over my shoes collection. In China, I got quite used to having my own money so I can cover at least some girly beauty basics. Unfortunately, with COVID, my dad lost his income and my mom was making a bare minimum just to live and have a food on the table. So of course, I started to look for options to make money online. Moreover, my city got under strict regulations. We weren't allowed even to go outside or leave our houses. So I was having troubles with police almost daily just walking out the dog in the yard. Again, long story short, after probably 6 months, I earned my first $180 online, because nobody in my family believed that somebody's gonna pay me online. Like, what am I doing? Money was my main goal, so I did a simple math, like the more clients I get, the more money I have. It worked until my first ever burnout, but I kept going, I kept growing. Also, after a couple of years, I quit university and my IT majors so I could dedicate all of my time to work. I was already having good progress in marketing. Eventually made it global because first I started in the Russian market and started working with a big influencer in the United States. And that leads us to the video's title. At 21, I made my client a revenue of more than $1 million. I was getting a percent of the sales, so by that time, considering also my other projects, I made something close to $75,000. The impact it had on me was massive. I can't even tell what affected me the most, making 75 grand or the fact that I made over $1 million to my client. At that time, I couldn't even comprehend how much money it is. Converting it to my Kazakh currency, the calculator would just say like error. Back then, I felt like everything in this life is possible. And my math was like, if I make 7 or 8 figures to my client, then of the percent, I'll get my first ever million to myself. Easy peasy. Saying it now sounds so naive, but again, I went crazy. How crazy? I moved to Thailand, started buying everything I wanted, spoiling my parents. First trip to Dubai, then Moscow, moved out of my parents' house to our capital. Then I went to Armenia, Dubai again, took my mom to Vietnam, went to Turkey, took a 1-month Europe tour. Never in my life before I thought that I can reach Europe. For me, it was always something so far away and so expensive. And also I took both of my parents to Dubai after. And it wasn't like 3-5 days traveling. Usually I'd spend a month somewhere, or I could just move there and spend 4 months. Like that. Looks like I was just living my life. 14 new countries in a year and a half. Buying everything on my wish list. Spoiling myself. But here came another problem I didn't realize I had. My inner child and its traumas. Let me explain. As a kid, I wanted a lot of toys, activities, clothes I couldn't have. Growing up, my family always had debts for essential things like apartment, cars, etc. And 70% of the time I wanted something, I would hear, we don't have money. And that's okay. I love my parents. Growing up, I realized that everything they did was in the best interest of their children, as well as they're also living their life and learning, and everybody can make mistakes. So once I started making good money, I'd spoil my inner child that was unstoppable. I want a 2,000-piece puzzle, which actually I never finished. It's like right there. I want a toy, I want an endless amount of chocolate. I want to travel, I want to do this and that. It may seem cute and fun to make your childhood dreams come true until you become that irresponsible inner child. I may sound bipolar, but as I get crazy, once money I've never seen before landed into my hands, I became a slave of my inner child. What's important to understand to everybody who's having the same issue: children don't make money, children don't care about their health, and children don't take responsibility for their life. Now pause this video and take a second to reflect on what I just said. For example, my traveling was an escaping mechanism because my inner child was always bored with a lot of work and didn't want to solve my workaholism problems. My poor eating habits were consequences of quick desires of my inner child, which led me to gaining over 40 pounds. My sleeping disorder was just my inner child trying to have some fun after I finished work at 3-5 a.m. Not sleeping felt cool. My procrastination later at work was also a kid's burnout because kids don't work. I kept having all these problems until I took control over my life as an adult. That's also the problem why so many people are lost in their 20s, 30s, 40s, etc. It's still their inner child behind the life will that's open to fun and adventures, but not brave steps into a specific direction that takes dedication, courage, and hard work to become successful at. After, let me tell you, months of learning what it is to be an adult and how to get back the control over my life, I took irreversible decision to quit my CMO position in my client's company. It felt like the best solution ever. Although I did have my own reasons to quit, starting from dissatisfaction of my income conditions to the emotional burnout of working 24/7, which was never enough. Little did I know that all of my expectations I had for my life after quitting job will in fact turn into several months depression. And here I'm about to wrap up my first episode of the series Crisis in My 20s. In total, there will be around 5 episodes. This was the first one. It was really important for me to cover the details. I don't want to be generic, like grow up, be an adult, take responsibility for your life, but true and helpful to you guys. Let me give you a spoiler. Next topic is gonna be how I got out of a 4 months depression and my therapy experience. We'll cover more why quite a life crisis happens and how to help yourself if you're feeling low emotionally and mentally. I also know that many people have close to no support at all, which makes it really hard to find powers to make any positive shift on their own. So let's be friends to go through this journey together. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next part. Also, please tell me in the comments, was this episode helpful or did you have any insights? And if I could do something better, let me also know in the comments below. I'd love some constructive feedback. Love you, hug you, and see you in the next video. Bye!